Hello, everybody. Once again, this is the Torg Eternity Delphi Council Debriefings, where the storm has a name. Once again, we are your hosts, Lehman, Mark, and JM. Today, we are continuing with our discussion on Core Earth. But before we jump into part 2 of Core Earth, I just wanted to add a couple of announcements. They're just continuations of last week. So the first is myminifactory.com. You can join the Ulysses Spila tribe for a subscription of only $5 a month. You can get a Torg Eternity adventure and 8 STL files of miniatures that you can print using your 3D printer. That will have miniatures that can be used in the adventure. So it's really cool, awesome way to get a bite-sized bit of Torg Eternity every month and not have to wait between crowdfunders. And speaking of crowdfunders, I did want to say the plan is for the German language Pan Pacifica crowdfunder to be launched somewhere around July or so. That will include Pan Pacifica as well as a few of the PDFs and stuff like that that have not been translated yet or previously. And then after that, all crowdfundings will be both in English and German. So for our German fans out there, you will get the Torg Eternity moving forward at the same time that we do. I'm actually happy about this because one thing that I've known for a while about having different languages is that you will catch a lot of errors when you're trying to translate into another language and the other language people don't understand. Yeah. So that hopefully helps us, and then both our English and German fans get all the information at the same time. So looking forward to that. And again, that crowdfunder will be about the Torg 1.5 clarification rule set, having the 4 core books being the Storm Knight's Guide to the Possibility Wars, the High Lord's Guide to the Infiniverse, the Realities of the Cosmverse, and Threats of the High Lords. So it's taking a lot of the information from the previous 8 waves, 5 or so years, and clarifying and make sure that they work well together and just make everything clear, concise, and pretty much a one-stop shop when you're making a Storm Knight, so you don't have to go through 8 different books to pull out all the perks and rules that you need. So, having said that, let's jump into Core Earth. This Delphi Council debriefing will be a little bit more loose than the last one. Last one, we were doing axioms, world laws, very specific things besides one specific topic that we'll talk about today. Most of this will be more freeform and thoughts and giving game masters and players ideas about what they can do for Core Earth. So let's just jump in. JM, thoughts, tips, tricks on Core Earth.
Well, I think we talked a little bit about some of my, North Stars for running Core Earth, right? Keep the action high, make sure you're moving, things should be clipping along very quickly. I also really enjoy sort of the cryptid or strange cult activity kind of that's been going on for a while, but now that the possibility wars have started, suddenly the old rituals and the old artifacts maybe have a little bit more weight than they used to. I mean, if the MCU can introduce another secret society that has been operating in the shadows since the dawn of time, you can too.
You're not wrong.
Right? That's a whole digression I won't get into, but the world was much smaller when all of these secret societies were introduced in the comics, and we all went, yeah, no, that makes total sense. Now it stretches a little incredulity. I also really like springing dramatic tasks on my players a lot more in Core Earth because it ramps up the tension. It takes it from what they thought was something simple. Oh, we're going to kick in the door. Excellent. You've activated a bomb on the other side. Now what are you going to do? Because you're in the middle of an apartment complex and you've got 5 rounds to defuse this thing. Otherwise, mass chaos. Or anytime you want, I feel like in Core Earth, the somebody kicks in the door and starts shooting is another. Just if my players are stumped on Core Earth, if they're stumped in Orosh, they can languish. They can make all sorts of skill checks and evidence analysis. If they're getting stumped in Core Earth, also a little bit of Nile Empire, but Core Earth, that's when a bad guy who has the vital clue kicks in the door and starts a fight. And when they deal with that person, look, there's another piece of information that we need, because that's how action movies work. Right? It's not a noir movie. It's not the detective soul searching and putting clues together. It's, hey, I just beat this thug up and he happens to have a matchbook that leads me to the next scene. So I always try and think of what's the most action hero way to give, to get to the next scene, or to give the players the piece of information they need.
Almost like when you were talking about that, reminded me of Batman. Beat up the thugs, get the stuff, put them in the back computer, figure out where to go next to do the next beat up.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Mark, your thoughts on some Core Earth
Jam
tricks?
Jam touched on it really, really briefly, and it's one of the things that I was really looking forward to. Excuse me, I had to clear my throat. Talking about last week, and we didn't get to it, and it's the idea of cryptids.
Mm-hmm.
And Core Earth is the way that original Torg put it. Core Earth is the near now, right? And Lehman, you talked about that with the tech axiom is always now, right? It was now in 1990, it's now in 2000, it's now in 2018, it's now in 2023, right? So with Core Earth, you take the near now and you take the secret societies. The Illuminati are a thing, right? You take Bigfoot, he's a thing. Loch Ness is a thing. And if you're not sure, if you want to look for something, everybody knows Bigfoot, everybody knows Nessie, everybody knows, if you're from Canada, the Lake Oconee guy up there. I can't remember what his name is. Oh, doggone it. I brought him up. Like, everybody knows him, and I can't remember. Remember that stupid thing we were talking about. This is it. This is the point. So cryptids are a great thing. If you don't know, you want to spring something on them, start, go get your favorite search engine and hop in there and start looking at Bangladeshi legends, right? Because legends in Core Earth are a thing. They're real, or they could be real. And every now and then it's good to throw, they're in the middle of this thing. They got to go over here and get the gangster. And, like you said, shoot them up, find the map that leads them to the speakeasy that gets them the clue that takes them to where the hideout is. But in the process of doing all of that, this thing about some on the computer there's this thing about a meetup about Bigfoot, and you're like, wait a minute, that's kind of, what's that got to do with it? And it's the guy that you just took down has got this up. Is there something going on there? Well, you drop in these things. It could be a red herring, it could be a real thing, it could be a side job that they get to, off the cuff, whatever. But the cryptids throw a great little, I don't want to say a curveball in, but it's a great little piece of flavor that really doesn't. You can get legends in Isle to a degree. They've got a whole thing for legends, but as far as cryptids are concerned, chupacabra, all of that kind of stuff is you're still in Core Earth. There, you still got the law of hope, you got the underdog, you got the law of glory, but all of a sudden this thing that shouldn't be here all of a sudden is, and it's just normal. And it's a fantastic twist for Core Earth that works anywhere. I mean, I don't care where you are in Core Earth. And that's the beauty of cryptids. That dovetails kind of into legends too. Any local legends.
I ran a Core Earth one shot when we were introducing the new characters for FET 5. I did a slasher film set in the John Hughes town Sherman, Illinois. And so I had basically the Breakfast Club go into a haunted house and meet the equivalent of the local Mike Myers legend. And it worked because, right, these are all kind of like slices of Americana right now that resonated with everybody.
And the other thing that really works well, in my opinion, with Core Earth, because Core Earth is the reason that all the High Lords have come here, is we're filled with so much possibility energy, and the law of hope. People have hope, right? You can turn almost anything into a soft point or a hard point. And if you needed to, I wonder what would happen if the local Walmart was invaded by lurks. Well, that's Isle. How do we get Isle in here? Well, I don't know. Figure it out. Make something up. Maybe they had this D&D thing that got shipped over to them, and they opened it up, and it's an Isle-ish hard point because everybody imbued it with so much of their desire to play a fantasy role-playing game that boom, it's created this hard point or this soft point inside the Walmart that is of itself inside the living land a core Earth soft point. And you get these layers that, well, nobody's done that before. Well, does that work? I don't know. Does it work? It's your cosm. You figure it out. But you're coming through core Earth, you get into living land, suddenly there's a Walmart there and the lights are on. How's that working in the middle of living land? Well, I don't know. Let's go find out, because the mist, the deep mist isn't there. The parking lot's clear. We walk into the Walmart, we're exploring the Walmart, and all of a sudden we get ambushed by lurks. Wait a minute. That's from Isle. How did that happen? And so it just becomes this breadcrumb thing that's completely unexpected. But that's the beauty of Torg, is that you can do stuff like that if you can, and you can link it, and it makes sense because you just attach it to the different world laws, come up with a logical reason. I mean, we were talking about the land between and the land below and how they become interconnected with anything. If you got an underground thing anywhere, you can, like, I'm in Atlanta. We've got underground Atlanta. Oh, tell me we don't have something going on in either the land below or the land between in underground Atlanta. I guarantee you we do. I don't know what it is yet because nobody's written it, but there you go.
I agree. One of the other things that I'll add to the whole idea of Core Earth having just all of these possibilities, I completely agree. Core Earth is one that there are more hard points and soft points than in normal invasions. There's just because of the possibility energy. So
and eternity shards.
And eternity shards. And storm knights. Anything that is created by that. So you can bring that into an adventure of just the, hey, from our calculations, there shouldn't be this many people. And hey, now you're part of the Delphi Council. How we recruited you, now we found some more Storm Knights. Go recruit them. Or, try to make them into Storm Knights instead of Stormers, or see what they are, type thing. So you can have those type of missions going on in Core Earth to get the Core Earth things. As well as Core Earth not being controlled by a High Lord, not having a darkness device. It's a little more malleable. It's a little more bendable with the axioms. So whereas like the Gaunt Man and Aurorsh, you're pretty much guaranteed these are your axioms. These are your world laws because the Gaunt Man made it so and has put a lot of time and energy doing that. Where in Core Earth, you might go to that place that has a lot of occult activity in the past. Maybe it has a higher magic axiom by a point. Maybe it has a higher spirit. And you can have those happen in Core Earth a lot easier, lore-wise, than you can in the other cosmos, other realities. You can, even the tech, maybe you go into some place and all the players, their Storm Knights think it's maybe Kanawha Pan Pacifica because it's Tech 24, but no, it just happens to be Silicon Valley,
or Area 51,
or something like that. Just it's got a little boost because Core Earth has those possibilities. We can come up with the fantasy and fiction and kind of even, I mean, you look at real life stuff. they're working with yes, it's just teleported this light from over on this side of the table to this side of the table, but it's still teleportation. 50 years ago it was Star Trek and nothing else.
Impossible was the word used.
Right. Yeah. Or even the little, our past technology of flip phones and the Star Trek, little thing. It's just everything, like things that we thought was fiction back then are, coming to be. Even in original Torg had the synth cyclers and UltraCAD, and now we have 3D printers. So, yeah. It's just like
affordable in homes.
Yes, and yes, exactly.
Commercially marketing minis to folks.
So it's one of those cool things with Core Earth is bump up those axioms a little bit, allow another world law to come in, in a place that might suit that area from a nearby,
but have a reason
reality.
For it.
Right,
have a reason.
Have a reason for that, and to shamelessly plug one of my adventures, Blood on the Blasted Lands. That's something that I kind of did there. Is didn't have necessarily a mixed zone, but I added some world laws to a Core Earth setting for that. So again, it's your Cosmverse. Do with it what you want, but think of the possibilities. And actually, no pun intended there, but think of the possibilities that you can do. So that's really cool. Core Earth also has more hard points, has more storm knights, has more soft points, has more flexibility than other things, and intuitively, Core Earthers are just in tune with reality, and that's why they have access to the reality category of perks. And the reality category of perks are some really cool perks that make being a Storm Knight from Core Earth well worth it. Things like the Realm Runner, and this is where the Realm Runner, and we will get into the weeds here. We've talked in a loose terminology about disconnection, but we haven't actually defined disconnection. So disconnection is something in Torg lore. So it's built into the lore. There are two main, what are called EverLaws. And the EverLaw of One, which is the most powerful force, you say basic physical force in the universe, or the Infiniverse, states you can only have one reality in one place at one time. EverLaw of One. Then there's the EverLaw of Two, which states you can have two realities in one place at the same time. And that is the law that Storm Knights use so that they can remain Core Earth when they go to Isle, or they can be Pan-Pacifica when they go to Tharcold. So the EverLaw of One, though, is more powerful, and every once in a while, and when I say it, or it thinks, or it wants, I'm talking about a mindless force. It doesn't really think, it doesn't really want, but we tend to use that to mean
it's like gravity.
It's like gravity. But the EverLaw of One, sometimes something will trigger it to come in and slice a Storm Knight off from their cosm. So if you're in Core Earth and you do something that is against Core or against Isle, or you're in Isle, the EverLaw of One once in a while will come in and just cut you off. Boom. Don't like that. You can only be one reality, one place, one time. You're doing shenanigans, and I'm putting a stop to you. The die mechanic for this is the initial D20 roll. And in a lot of games, you just, when you're doing a test or a check, whatever it's called in whatever game, you roll the dice, you add up numbers, or you look at a chart, or you do something, and then you just, did this succeed or not? In Torg Eternity, while it can be really fast, a split second, that initial die roll has multiple aspects to it. So the first thing you do when you roll a d20 in Torg is, if you have anything that's contradictory, that means the place that you are in, if you're doing something that is against that place, you're a one-case contradiction. If you are doing anything against, your own cosm, your own reality, then that's a one case contradiction. And if you are against both, say that I'm using a laser gun in the living land, which is low tech, and I'm core Earth that doesn't accept laser guns, then it is both against the place that I'm in and the place that I'm from, and that's called a four case contradiction. So it's really easy when you roll that d20, the initial die roll, when it stops rolling, if it's a 1 and I'm doing something that's a one case contradiction, I disconnect. And if I roll a 1 through 4 and I'm doing something that is a four case contradiction, I disconnect. The action just doesn't happen. This isn't a gun jamming. This is the gun just not working because it doesn't work in that reality. Sorry. Don't care that you think that this firearm is going to shoot. It doesn't work in this reality. It's not a miss. It's not a jam. It just does not function. And then you are disconnected. And disconnection in Torg Eternity is horrible because you cannot spend possibilities, meaning you cannot soak damage. You don't have that damage mitigation, which is very, very, very scary, and even more scary than original Torg, which was just you can't gain possibilities. You could still spend them. Now you can't spend them. You can't use them. Core Earth is awesome. Realm Runner allows you once per act to ignore a disconnection. And that has saved so many Storm Knight's bacon that I know of just the, nope, I'm not disconnecting this time.
So can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
So from a mechanical standpoint, Lehman was talking about disconnecting and you're doing something contradictory. It's against this place, it's against you. The numerical mechanic on this, so that you can put, we've talked about this, and in every cosm where we talk about the axioms. The way that you can tell whether you are contradictory or not is whether or not the thing exceeds an axiom. Right. So everything is rated guns, everything's got a tech axiom. It's higher or lower. Magic has a magic axiom. Your interpersonal skills have a social axiom. Your religious stuff.
Miracles.
Thank you. Yeah. Your miracles. You've got axioms that guard, or that not guard, but define what is within the realm of reality and what is beyond the realm of reality. And I like to look at it from the standpoint of currents and water flow and things, because it's like, well, how does that work? Well, the EverLaw of One is always there. It's like gravity is always there, but sometimes planes can fly, right? But if you to bring up a very popular movie from the 80s, Top Gun, you got that flat spin that they got into that got them in a bad spot. Well, they did that because that plane moved through jet wash, and that destroyed the lift those wings had, and so all of a sudden they're in a flat spin. Well, reality in Torg Eternity is a lot like that, in that you as a Storm Knight from, let's say, Core Earth, you anchor yourself to Core Earth as a reality because you know how to do that. That's inherent in what a Storm Knight does. But reality doesn't like that when you go to Isle, and you still do Core Earth stuff in Isle, because that's the EverLaw of Two. And the EverLaw of One is stronger than the EverLaw of Two. And the EverLaw of One is pushing back against you the whole time you're there doing all this Core Earth stuff in places where it shouldn't be done, because it just, you have a Tech 22. I'm going to use a thing that you talked about earlier. You have a Tech 22 machete that should not function properly because it's built, it's manufactured, and constructed completely beyond the technology of Isle. And so the EverLaw of One is always pushing at you just a little bit, because that shouldn't work, but you're forcing it. You're jamming that square peg into the round hole, knocking the corners off. And every now and then you miss hitting the square peg and you whack your thumb. And when you do that, the EverLaw of One takes that as an opportunity and grabs you and says, oh, you know what? We're going to make you abide by Eilish laws now. And all of a sudden that Core Earth guy starts to transform into Isle. And now we got a bad problem unless you can reassert yourself and reconnect to your own cosm. Otherwise, and this is where it gets really cool, otherwise you transform and you take a Pan-Pacificus Storm Knight and transform him into a Rorsch.
Yeah.
And
We
that's
actually-
where the fun can happen. You can also lose a reality ad. I personally just like transforming.
Yeah,
we
know
had
some-
that happen. We
Really?
had our core Earth former movie star transform into a Nile Empire superhero during a surge.
I bet that was blast. That was
yeah,
fun.
it was. He like the character, like the player was like, "Can I just do this?" You know, I'm like, "Yeah, no, 100%. Like this is one of the options." And so the chat actually helped rebuild him as a Nile, kind of the same, like super charismatic.
Lady
Cult
Hourglass or
superhero.
something like
Yeah,
that.
it was great. It was great, and I think for me, more often than not, disconnects come from surge
Mhm.
complications on the drama card,
Yeah.
which just says it doesn't matter what's going on. Everybody at the start of your turn, you're going to test to see if you disconnect.
Unless you're from that reality
Right.
And don't have contradictory stuff.
and don't carry because
So-
Eilish person carrying a Tech 22 machete, that's a contradiction to the Eilish person. A surge means they got a chest. They got a
Yeah.
test.
We
And
had
if
something
they-
come up. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Sorry,
Oh,
go
I was
ahead.
going to say if you roll a 1, but you're from Isle and you're in Isle, you just don't complete the action.
Yes.
Right? There's no disconnection if
Yes.
you're in your home cosm. You just something went wrong.
Here's what happens. If you're just a normal person, or you're completely Isle, you have nothing contradictory on you,
Mm-hmm.
then yes, it's just okay. I'm from Isle. I don't even have people roll. Okay, but if
Yeah,
that Isle person has that machete,
Exactly.
then they disconnect. Okay, they disconnect. If they transform back to who they were, but that machete is now a short sword.
Yeah, exactly. That's how, yeah. If
You know,
They lose it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it transforms into the closest like everything else, it transforms into the closest approximation of whatever that analog is
Mhm.
for the new reality.
Right. So you can
That's-
lose things like I've lost a magic item transforming into a place that didn't have a magic, and I would otherwise would have been fine. So some people don't like transformation, and that's fine. They get on a character concept, and that's the concept that they want. They have the option of losing a reality ad
If they have it to lose.
if they have it. I always embrace the transformations because that
Yeah.
can just make it. I can be like, oh man, I don't want to do this, but then when you get into it and you start building a character, it also allows those players that like not having to stick with the same characters, they go full blown into it as I'm going to transform because now I get to do a new concept, so it can be really, really fun in that. But this whole discussion of disconnection, EverLaws, and that is because Core Earth has a whole category of reality that allows them to manipulate those things. They can do Realm Runner, which means that they can ignore that disconnect. There's
The first one
to
in
that.
an act.
Right. There's an upgrade to that. I think it's Realm Dancer that then it can be once per scene.
Yep.
And things that can help them. Also, they have the perk that is the bane of game masters.
I hate this.
negation.
Negation.
Here's the thing: I can't convince any of my players to take reality perks. If I were to play Torg, I would play someone from Core Earth who just manipulated the bejeebus out of reality because these are my favorite perks.
Oh yeah, they're awesome, and Mark knew what it was because normally on our Wednesday streams, somebody inevitably has a Core Earth person with negation, and you go to use that villain's possibility, and they're like, "Nope, I spend one, I cancel it."
I'm gonna blast you. No, you're not. Wait, what? Oh,
yeah. So that is fun. Also, one of my players recently got Storyteller. Which
Yes,
I love that perk.
We talk about Core Earth being storytelling, and that's how you get the glory events, the word of them spread out, so that you can rip up the stele, win the possibility wars without turning everybody into what ifs. Storyteller, you get a glory event, and then the core Earth person with Storyteller, they tell the story. They make a persuasion roll,
Mhm.
and for every success level, they get a possibility for the next act that they can spend as a free action on anybody,
Mhm.
In a
including
pool, yep.
lords. Yeah, in a pool,
Mhm.
they get a separate boom. You make sure you get an outstanding. I got 3 extra possibilities. That's cool for me, but I can spend it on
Yep.
you, or even if this Ord. If we have a mission to save this guy,
Yep.
and he's gonna go down, I can spend it on him, and,
Yep.
and that's just a really cool thing. Every possibility is like such a because original Torg, you could just stack them and have hundreds of possibilities, and there were house rules to make it limited at 10 or 20 because otherwise people could have so many. In Torg Eternity, the base, there could be perks and stuff that adjust it, but the base is you get 3 per act, and an act
Yeah.
can be 5 scenes, it can be 7 scenes, it can be quite a long time
Yep.
to get through it. 3 extra possibilities is awesome to
Yeah.
have, and with a perk,
Yep.
wow.
And
It's
if you're a
really-
negator, oh,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I love the grant possibility
Mm-hmm.
perk because inevitably in every game, somebody wants to share, like, can I spend it on them? Do you have this perk? It's my way of reminding them, like, play someone from Core Earth. You could do this. It's so cool.
Yep.
No. Yeah.
Core Earth, the Core Earth characters, people overlook them because it feels normal because
Mhm.
you're just playing Sally off the street as a cop that just happens to be real good, double tap and brute and
Mhm.
take prodigy to get that extra possibility and bodyguard. And so you're standing next to somebody and they get ready to take two hits, and you're like, nope, I got a high toughness, so I'm gonna bodyguard that person. They
Mhm.
transfer that to me. I roll my soak. Look, 2 shock, no big deal. When you thought you were blowing this guy away with 3 wounds, and it doesn't happen. But people overlook it because we're like, I want to play the dwarf from Isle that runs around in
Yes.
dragon armor, or I want to play the cyber guy with arms of plasteel and a gun built into my shoulder, or I want to play the Pan Pacifica psionicist, or I want to play the guy from Tharkold with all this occult tech doing tentacle stuff. That's all big flashy, and Core Earth is just kind of, I'm playing me. I can do these 2 other cool things, but it looks like me. Who wants to play
Mhm.
me? I don't know. Nobody wants to play me.
Mhm.
Sometimes I don't want to play me.
But see, that's why you lean into the secret society or the strangeness or the,
Yep.
make it take your Core Earth character concept and turn the dials to 11. Like, right, John, like Die Hard is just a movie about a cop being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's essentially every Core Earth character. You are the unlikely hero in the wrong place at the wrong time. So make it awesome.
Do something about
Yeah.
it.
See, I created for the first thing I put up on the Infiniverse Exchange. It was a little thing where one of the personalities in the mod was a guy who discovered he was a realm runner. So they started a cruise line that people who loved steampunk and wanted to experience, because people love horror movies, right? Okay, well, have I got something for you? I'm going to take you and you're going to be scared to death. Watch this. And so they started a cruise line where they would take people and land them on the shores of Orosh,
Because that
go in
sounds
a
like a
little,
great thing.
go on a little excursion into the jungles of Orosh in this secluded area where the terror is just in everything, right? Let them stay there for an hour, bring them back to the cruise boat, and bring them back to Core Earth. And that was his thing because he's a realm runner, so he's the tour guide. He could go back and forth, and he found something, brought it back to a suburban neighborhood, and now the suburban neighborhood has a problem when the sun goes down.
Yeah.
And the Delphi Council has sent you in to figure out what the heck's going on with
Mhm.
these 3 houses that when the sun goes down, really weird stuff start happening. Well, this guy has this cruise line and see, but he's a Core Earth realm runner. You can do stuff like that. You could make that into your character and say, well, that's what I do for a living. I'm
Yeah.
helping the Delphi Council in my off time.
That's very, very cool. There's also a perk that is from one of the backers of the Nile Empire. It's a Core Earth perk called In Touch, and it's really cool. You can, as a Core Earth Storm Knights, you can reconnect somebody else. So if
Oh,
they're
that's awesome.
disconnected, then
That's
you could
awesome.
react them. Which
I need
means
somebody in the streaming group to get that for me.
yeah, I mean that's just it was something that I have been recently going through perks, of course.
Where is that one?
Nile Empire, it's a backer perk. Backer
Oh, so
archetype
you have to
perk.
get. I didn't get the archetypes for the with the GM screen.
Right, but it's when you touch a person or object, you connect to what they could be as much as what they are. You may spend a possibility and test to reconnect another person with your reality skill. And if you're going that reality way of Core Earth, you probably have a decent reality. And since you are connected, you can spend that possibility, that extra boost action possibility. Whereas a lot of people, especially in the dominant zones and or pure zones, which that difficulty number is higher to get, that they might just have a really tough time
18 and
getting
pure.
it. So having Storyteller, which gives you those extra possibilities, you can just do so many cool things as a Core Earther. And yes, a lot of this is support, but support in Torg Eternity, in my opinion, is just so much more satisfying than a lot of games. A lot of games, it's like you have the heal bot. Oh, great, I heal. Oh, great, I heal. Oh, great, I heal. You know, and okay, I want to do. Nope. You're healing. You don't do anything else but heal. Core Earth and Torg Eternity in general, Core Earth specifically, with a lot of these, you can do a lot of different things that add flavor that can help, and it's just really, really a good use of a support character, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, especially with things like the interaction skills, and then you have stuff like this. It just works.
Yes, it's a very, very cool thing. Let's see. Stormcaller is another thing that in original Torg was something that everybody could do, and you would just get somebody who would get a high reality skill and just start trying to transform every opponent. Now it's a Core Earth specific thing, but you do have to watch out. And I just will say a funny, I guess you could call it a meme, and a local meme in my own groups is what is the thing's name? If the thing has a first name called Reality, it's probably not good to get into a reality
Don't storm
with it. That a couple of times that's happened where somebody's like, "Did you not understand? Its first name is Reality." It probably meant you shouldn't have tried storm calling it.
Yeah.
Like reality tree, reality this, reality that. No, just no.
Yeah, but it's a lot of it's a cool mechanic until you get stuck in it and realize that it's a one-on-one deal. You and whatever you've got in that storm, and that's it. Right? You can't get any help from anybody outside. Well, you can get, like, I think they can do interaction attacks, but they can't spend possibilities on you. I don't think they can get card play to you.
Yeah, it's pretty much you're on your own. So you better be confident. It's one of those cool options that went from a one-trick pony that just always, I don't want to say always won, but it was just one of those, this again. And it made it, okay, now it's a subgroup, Core Earth people can get it, and it's not always the best thing, but it's a cool thing. When it happens, it can be very, very, very cool, but it's not going to just be the one-trick pony or the so repetitive you just roll your eyes with it. And that's one of the things I really like about Core Earth in Torg Eternity is they have all of these perks that allow them to do cool things and kind of mix things up and not just be that one-trick pony.
Yeah.
So Let's see. Any other perks that come to mind that are cool for Core Earth realities?
I mean, we covered most of them, but I gotta say, like, some of the other simple ones, like Prodigy, you start with an extra possibility. Totally worth it. Yeah. You like, and it increases, like, it doesn't count against a max in any way, shape, or form. Like, and it stacks. Adaptable. You don't cause contradictions when using equipment, spells, miracles, or powers supported by the local zone, even if they're beyond yours. So you essentially, if you're in a cosm, you don't run the risk of causing contradictions by using their own gear.
Right. So it doesn't count against you that it's against Core Earth. You're just like you're almost like a chameleon, a reality chameleon that can go in. I'd forgot about that one, but yeah, that's an awesome one. Like you said, you can just go into another realm, do everything that's supported by that reality, and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
super
doesn't count as
adaptation.
So if I'm reading this correctly, if I have adaptable and I'm in Tharcold and I use a piece of occult tech and I roll a 1, I don't cause a contradiction with it.
Right.
Yep.
So that essentially removes the penalty for rolling the 1. You would also have to do something that's like beyond the Tharcold, like or if I'm using a piece of Pan Pacifica gear in Tharcold, that doesn't cover this. But if I'm using Tharcold gear in Tharcold, I'm a chameleon. Reality thinks I belong here.
Well, but you're a realm runner.
Yeah.
Because that's what a realm that makes it, they had realm runner before, but it was just a title. It wasn't really a thing that you could do. And Torg Eternity has turned it into really a thing that you can do. It has meaning now, because when you say, well, I'm a realm runner, you took adaptable. When we played original Torg, that was the thing, is I think everybody had character wanted to get piece of tech from every cosm and cobble it on to everything. Well, realm, you could do that in original Torg. You can't do that now. There are ways to do it. That takes a long time, but
it's hoops.
Yeah, but a realm runner can almost do it if you build them right and you take adaptable. You can walk in. It's like, I used to have a character in original Torg that had a firearm from every cosm that was below the tech axiom for every cosm, so that no matter, because he was a shooter, and it didn't matter where I went, I always had the best gun for that place. And when I went to someplace else, if it was like, in Pan Pacifica where the tech axiom is real high, all my stuff works. Get to Isle, not all my stuff works, but I got something that's good here, or at least as good as this goes for what I've built my character to do. That's what adaptable lets you do now.
Yeah, it actually is really cool, because even if it came from a different reality, if it wasn't supported by the world laws of that reality, you could still use it. So if you were Core Earth Tech 23 and you just had a normal firearm from Pan Pacifica Tech 24, you could still use it in Tharcold without contradiction, because Tharcold has Tech 25.
Supports it, yeah.
But now if we start getting into other weird stuff like vitality perks, and then it still would, because that's a contradiction no matter what. But when you just look at the axioms, and that could make it so that, if you wanted to have an adventure in Isle, a Core Earth person, and this is something I've seen a couple of times, and it shocks everybody in the group, is having a wizard, a magician from Core Earth, because normally you would expect that to be from Cyber Papacy or Isle. You just have the Core Earth magician. Now all those Isle cool magic stuff with adaptable, they can up their ante with
and axiom
magic.
Increase.
Right,
you can take axiom increase, which I don't think you talked about yet. We talked
about it
last
time, right? Yeah.
But apply that. You could apply that if you're if you're in that tech where you're do it the other way, Tharcold to Pan Pacifica, bump your tech axiom by 1, and now all that Pan Pacifica stuff's not contradictory for you, right? Take your core Earth guy, bump your magic axiom by 1, or even take it twice and bump it a couple times, because with the magic axiom especially, that opens up a lot of doors when you get it twice. You got to spend for it and you got to plan for it. But if you do that, if you wanted to build that purpose for, do a purpose built character like that, there are not a lot of those out there.
Yeah.
No, core Earth is one of the most, and bouncing off the perk name adaptable, they are adaptable. That is their, the realm runner path, realm runner, adaptable, storyteller, all of that stuff just gives them a lot of cool things, and it makes, in my opinion, it makes Torg Eternity core Earth Storm Knights such a viable character option.
Well, and even coupled with prowess perks, which I kind of feel like prowess perks are almost like they're almost like core Earth perks. Anybody can take them, right? But they seem to lead themselves. Maybe it's because you got a core Earth cop as the graphic near the prowess perks. That maybe that's a subliminal thing for me, but it's really cool because the prowess stuff really dovetails well with that.
I could see that with the prowess, reality, and leadership.
Leadership,
because core Earth has like the one, it has the one category, reality, but the other ones are open to everybody.
Right.
But if you're from Nile Empire, you have pulp powers, you have magic, you have more things it's gonna kind of steer you. It's not gonna tell you can't take prowess perks or social perks, but it's gonna steer you towards the categories.
You'd rather take the other ones,
right? The ooh shiny over there, where core Earth with the reality category, you have those, but then if you want to do other categories, then you start picking up the prowess. Depending on how you want to go, the social, the leadership, etc. So you can have a big diversity in core Earth just itself, determining what the other general perk category you're going into. So you can go towards the I'm the cop, or I'm the dabbler of magic. I used to read, or just the I used to read the actual ancient spells written in Latin. And now that stuff works. So, I had this whole, I was a professor and I translated all these things and now they actually work. So boom, I have a whole spell book, basically my college course.
My thesis now works.
Right, it becomes that. So it's just, you can have so many cool things and so many a variety of people. Like I said last time, my player is the social media influencer that I rolled my eyes and almost beat my head on the table. And that character is just like, he took storyteller. He saved the party's bacon last night by having extra possibilities and stuff like that. So you can have those really, really cool, diverse, different characters, and not every core Earth person is just going to be the exact same. You can have a wide variety of stuff. So did we have any other things that we would like to talk about with core Earth, whether that's game mastering, playing perks, feels, anything like that?
I mean, I think when it comes to core Earth, first of all, hopefully you all have figured out that we think you should play more core Earth Storm Knights. What's great about Torg, keying off what Mark said about the legends are real, you can go through the other Cosm books and pull out things that make sense for core Earth. Go to the Orosh book, pull out the vampire and the werewolf. Go to, reskin things. You don't need to design them from the ground up. Just, things from the Cyber Papacy would work really well in an Area 51 adventure, or possibly in downtown Detroit, right? RoboCop. Like there's another great action movie that we could pull from.
Yeah.
reskin something as a Sasquatch, reskin something as, I mean, go to the living land, right? You want dinosaurs, or you want, alligators in the sewers? Go to the living lands, take a dinosaur, toss it in the sewer. It works. The nice thing about Core Earth, as Lehman said, is it's adaptable. If you can find a justification, as tenuous as it is, just drop it into Core Earth and let it roll.
You have that secret society, that cult. They summon a minor demon. Boom.
Yeah.
Look at the
Yeah.
minor demon from the cyber papacy.
Exactly.
So
Yep.
yes, look at the other source books and pull that stuff in. Play with Core Earth as a setting.
Yes.
The local axiom. Maybe it's just a church somewhere that has a little bit higher faith. Maybe like we said, Silicon Valley or some Area 51 type thing, or some Russian hidden base that has a higher social axiom, so the psychic stuff is a little higher.
Right.
That was another thing that's been used officially, is these little bumps in the axioms, so you don't just have to have the same thing over and over in Core Earth. You can really switch things up so that each time you go into Core Earth, it can be different.
Now I want to do a Men Who Stares at Goats adventure.
Yes.
That's funny.
No, and true. Watch a lot of movies that are like that, and you'll get some good ideas. It doesn't. While yes, Die Hard and Last Action Heroes completely fit the Core Earth theme, you can look for other stuff out there.
Oh yeah.
It can be
Expendables,
those type of things.
Yeah.
That's
cool.
So in original Torg, Core Earth was a place that you didn't go very often. It was a lot of, you were from there, or you went there to do something like rest or whatever, but then you typically, your mission was somewhere else. Even when the Rule of Two, you were going to Isle to deal with, Pan Pacifica, or you're hitting the cyber papacy to deal with Aurora, or you thought you were going over to the living land, and all of a sudden here comes the Nile Empire, and why are they even here? And that was the mission. The beautiful thing about Core Earth and Torg Eternity is that if you have that, like, well, what if I did this? Do it. That's the beauty of if you've got this idea in your head that it'd be really cool if the cyber church suddenly invaded LA, or if you had Nile Empire storming across the Canadian border. Okay, well, that's your story. You make it, pick it up, make it your own, do the thing, and you have a reason for it, and then let your players discover it. But that's the beauty of Core Earth, is that because storytelling is a thing, the stories here are real. If you even want to, got a local group and you're doing a home game and you've got a local legend or a local tale, like Jan was talking about with Michael Myers, and the Breakfast Club goes over here and does this thing. That was but that was cool. That would have been fun.
It was a lot of fun.
But you've got that thing. If you want to do something like that, that's a local legend, you can absolutely make that happen, because that's how these hard points and soft points formed, is local people. That's, put their faith and their trust and their hope into that local icon, whatever it happens to be, and it became a soft point, or it became a hard point. I'm doing that with the Loma Pardo incident in episode 2 that you guys just finished playing. There's a hard point there because it's a church, because the local people put their faith into that church. It anchored Core Earth's reality for a certain, about a couple kilometers around it, and the people are still there, are all Core Earth. You can do any story you want in Core Earth. You like the cyber papacy, but you don't really want to go over there and do a bunch of that stuff. We'll drop it in somewhere.
And I'll say, adding on to the original Torg, it wasn't even that I'm from Core Earth. It was I originally was from Core Earth, but now I've transformed to this other cooler,
Yeah,
reality. I think during the entire time I might have had 2 players who wanted to be from Core Earth. I think maybe Orosh was the only other Cosm that people didn't want, because originally you also had to deal with your own world laws in Core Earth when it for the longest time didn't have any, and then when they came out they were meh. But Orosh one specifically hurt you. So if you made a Aurora Storm Knight, you were hurting yourself to begin with. So those 2 were like almost nobody ever did those. Torg Eternity, now they're, even though we said a lot of that ooh shiny, but the people that have done Torg Eternity and know it, they'll make those Core Earth characters because they realize how good that they can stand right alongside of anybody else, and they're not hurting their own role-playing experience by choosing Core Earth. They can actually,
Not a bit.
They all the realities are cool, all the realities are exciting, and that includes the base reality of Core Earth. So hopefully you have been able to get something out of this episode to think about all the cool, awesome things that you can do with Core Earth as a setting for an adventure, for a Storm Knight, and next time we will move into another reality. So before I end it, is there any last words or anything? I think we pretty much rambled. Enough.
You said it was looser, and I was like, how do we get looser?
We're already pretty slapdash, but
That's right.
Okay, so we do thank you for listening.
Yes.
To our Delphi Council debriefings. We hope that you can learn something each time you listen, give you an idea, give you some little gem out there. So once again, we are Lehman, Mark, and JM for the Torg Eternity Delphi Council debriefings. And until next time, we hope you have fun in your own Cosmverse.